It's never been this busy in all the years. I've had busy seasons, and I can usually predict during the year when we're going to be really busy, but
Renovating your home doesn't have to be difficult. It's all about understanding some key principles and having a plan. Welcome to the Behind the Renovation podcast. I'm your host, Alice T. Chan. I've been obsessed with all things home since I was 10 years old and have been improving homes professionally for nearly 2 decades. This podcast is dedicated to helping you navigate the messy and the magical when it comes to home improvement. Consider this the real talk behind the scenes, not the produced plot twists of home and garden television shows. Each week, I'll share my tried and true tips, lessons, and interviews with real people just like you who have renovated and lived to tell about it. Get ready to ugly cry happy tears as you do the happy dance. Okay, let's do this. Your new and improved home is waiting. If you're in the process of selling your home or preparing your house to sell, this season of the Behind the Renovation podcast is perfect for you. Over the next few weeks, I'm interviewing industry professionals and related businesses for the Home Selling Success Series to help you understand what home selling, buying, and renovating looks like in 2021 and how you can prepare yourself for the good, the bad, and that elusive virtue called patience. In today's episode, I am interviewing Cathy Lee Cibelli. Cathy Lee is the owner of CL Design Home Staging based in the East Bay area in Northern California. She is an active RESA, or Real Estate Staging Association member, an affiliate member of Women's Council of Realtors, and the Contra Costa Association of Realtors. Cathy Lee served as RESA's California State President from 2015 to 2020. She was the founder and past president of the East Bay and San Francisco chapter of the International Home Staging Professionals. She enjoys mentoring new stagers and is dedicated to the powerful techniques of staging homes. Cathy Lee creates space, color, and clutter-free homes that can sell faster and for more money in today's market. You can find Cathy Lee on Instagram at Cathy_Lee_Cibelli or visit her at cldesignservices.com.
Good
Good morning, Cathy. How are you?
It's wonderful to see you. I miss you.
I know. Great to see you too. Oh my goodness. So
thank goodness for social media. I can follow you and your daughter.
Oh yes. Can you believe she's already 15 going on 16? She got her driver's permit. It's so scary.
She's so amazingly talented. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I am a proud mama. I know you've seen her grow up because we go way back to, I think we met back in 2003-ish, right?
I think it was 2002.
Could be. But yeah. We've been in this business for a long time. We've seen it all. And I'm just so amazed by your business right now. Like, you're just going crazy. You're going gangbusters. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's never been this busy in all the years. I've had busy seasons, and I can usually predict during the year when we're going to be really busy. But since the pandemic, it's never been busier, and I call it the panic business because the realtors are in a panic to list, the sellers are in a panic to list, the buyers are in a panic to buy. So I just call it the panic market.
Why do you think that is?
The people that are moving and hiring me are leaving California, unfortunately, because they feel it's too expensive. And it's very sad for me as a native Californian. And then the people who are buying are leaving their high rises, their big townhomes or condos because they feel their lives have changed forever and they want a yard. They want a place to entertain outside where their children can play. And they feel like they just have to get ahead of it, or the buyers feel like if they don't buy right away, they're going to lose out. The sellers feel like if they don't sell right away, the market's going to drop.
Yeah.
And so pretty much everyone I meet is in panic.
Yeah. Well, so it is not a myth that people actually do want to leave California when they say, because, we've heard it all. Everybody wants to leave because it's too much. And I go, well, where are they? Because they're still all on 880 and 680 and all the places that I'm on the road at. Like,
I know, I was in traffic this morning. I know, you're right. But I hear the same states every time I'm staging is the homeowners here in the East Bay are going to Idaho.
Mm,
They're going to Utah, they're going to Arizona, and they're going to Texas. And I hear it over and over and over. And
really?
some Tennessee.
See, Tennessee is a cool state. I've been to
I love
Tennessee.
Nashville.
I think it's a very, very cool state. And
Right,
it's up and coming, so to speak, from a
right.
Californian's perspective, it's up and coming. I'm sure they're like, we're established. What are you talking about? But I hear
Right.
Texas a lot also. I've not heard Idaho. That's an
I've
interesting
had
one.
many, and also Wyoming. I forgot about that. I've staged for some Google executives that have moved to Wyoming
Really? Do
because
they
they
have
can live
a tech hub
wherever they
there?
want, and they're
Oh,
getting a lot of
a lot of land.
acreage and
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something that we don't offer a lot of here in California, that's for sure. So when people talk about acreage, I'm like, acreage? Who wants to take care of that?
But
I
I
bet
would
they
say
want to do
Idaho's the number
it.
one in my area. Idaho is the most popular state from here where people are
Really?
moving.
Now, are
Yes.
these older people? Are they younger folks? Or are they just kind of all over?
All ages. I staged for a young couple. They had a baby. She had a baby in her arms.
Hmm.
She was pregnant. She needed to get the house on the market right away because she didn't want to be moving when she was too far along.
Yeah.
They were going to Idaho. The house sold right away. It was a very successful sale. And lo and behold, like 2 weeks later, the parents who are retired can't stand the thought that they're not going to be near their grandchildren.
Yeah.
So they listed and sold and moved.
Oh my gosh.
So it's at all ages. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'm sure the amount of house they can get when they move anywhere outside of California is just, there's no comparison. There really is not.
Well, they're getting a lot more land, but the prices have really gone up. And I've had a few clients that I've staged for tell me that they had to pay 100 or 200,000 over asking to get the house they wanted out of state.
Really?
The market's being driven up because so many people are leaving here.
Okay, everybody needs to just calm down. Okay.
That's what I say. I'm not going anywhere.
Jeez. I know every time I see you on social, you're like, another one sold, this one's coming soon. And it's like nonstop. How are you even keeping up? I don't even know.
I try to keep my sanity and have good help. And I've always said this ever since I've been in the business. Staging is the F word. Flexible. It's the F word. If we don't stay flexible, we'll lose our minds.
Yeah. I can think of a couple of other F words.
But I get changes all the time. Like yesterday, I was trying to figure out how are we going to pick up 3 homes, but all 3 of them we just staged, and they're all cash and they're all closing,
Wow.
no contingencies, no inspections. And then yesterday I got a 4th one in the same
Wow.
situation. It has to be vacant by Friday because the escrow is cash and it's moving up, and all the papers are signed. So we had to add a 4th, and that's why I say flexible. I started at 4:30 today.
Okay,
4:30.
I think the real word is foolish. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's fantastic. Another F word for you. So are you experiencing any pushback from clients that say that there's no need to stage because it's such a hot market? Because you're obviously keeping super busy. So are you getting any pushback at all?
I get asked, do you think that we can just do it vacant, or do you think we
Mhm.
can just do it as is? And I always tell them the same thing. Absolutely, your house will sell. You just will never know what it would have sold for if you had staged. So statistics show that
Yeah,
it's going to sell for more money and it's going to sell faster. So this great investment, this big asset that you have here, you want it to look the best it possibly can so you can get the most money for it.
right.
And I mean, I don't get every preview that I go on. Some people are even still doing virtual, which I don't believe in at all.
So explain what virtual staging is, so for the folks that don't understand what you're referring to.
The professional photographers here are offering virtual staging where they just place photos of furniture in the rooms, and they have a package price per room. And there are still, there's still homeowners that are doing it. Not as much. When
Mhm.
we were in shelter in place, I saw it more, but it is
Yeah.
still happening. And I did recently just have an agent that I've staged for years tell me, this is the date I need. If you cannot do it, I'm going to virtual. And of course, we worked it out. We had it virtual.
So, I think what people have to understand is virtual is a completely different thing, because when you actually walk through the doors of that property, you're not
Yes,
able to see what it is that you see in photos. And I think sometimes a lot of people feel duped by that whole process. So you
I
see this
totally
online.
agree. And because they look online before they make up their decision whether they're going to go or not. And then when they
Mhm.
get there and open the door and it's all vacant, it's a bait and switch. And I can always tell when it's virtual. I can tell because the look is virtual. I mean, even
Yeah.
the legs on the tables don't sit on the floor, but
Right.
most buyers that are looking online don't know.
Yeah.
And then they get over there and they're so disappointed. So
Well,
they
sure.
only
I
know
mean,
what they see, and that's why it needs to look nice when they go in. So
right. So now, what is it that you're advising clients to do in preparation for putting their house on the market? So before you even get there to do your magic, which it truly is, it's that icing on the cake. It's that is the finishing touch. But before you get to that point of bringing in all that, what do you advise your clients to do?
first is curb appeal. Even if we just are adding bark and trimming trees, it's really important that the yard and the front of the house looks nice. And if they haven't painted in a few years, they need to paint the exterior.
Mhm.
And it's hard to find help right now because everyone is so busy, but it's very important to catch them at the curb. And then inside, I've staged many dated homes, but it's really all about cleanliness. You don't have to update. It's great if you update your kitchen and your baths and your flooring, but if you don't have the funds, it's all about being clean,
Mhm.
cleaning the windows, the appliances, making sure everything works, and professional photos. It doesn't work for the realtor to use his phone. You have to have wide angles. You have to have lighting added where it's needed. So I always recommend those things. Those are my key things. If there isn't money to update, if there is money for updating, I always recommend paint, flooring, bathrooms,
Mhm.
kitchens. Kitchens are really important.
Yeah. Well, all the more reason I think that pre-planning is so key, especially during this time when, like you
Mhm.
said, people are in a panic, everybody's in a rush, everybody is afraid. That whole FOMO thing is a real thing.
It's real,
And it
right?
really is. And so preparing for that, because so everybody is trying to do the same thing you are. So it's kind of like when during the beginning of COVID, when people are standing in line at the grocery store just to get in, not even to buy anything, just to actually
Buy
get in.
toilet paper.
Yeah, I know. It's so insane. I had no idea what was happening. Why are we running out of toilet paper? What is happening right now? Because I don't watch the news, which is a really good sanity thing for me.
It's
But
good. You don't.
yeah, but preparing yourself for getting the materials as you're able to get the materials, and booking your trades as early as possible, and getting and being flexible, right? Because when they're available, you need to be available. Just have them come in, do a little something, and then have them come back again if
That's
that's
right.
necessary. So another
Right.
F word. I feel like we're on Sesame Street. The word of the day is, the letter of the day is. But yes, we should definitely be a little more proactive as far as that's concerned. Now, are you finding that people are cutting corners in the home selling process right now because of this current situation that we're in?
Yeah, some. It just depends on the homeowner. It depends on the realtor too.
Mhm.
I work with some really incredible agents that really want their homeowners to get the most with the sale of the house. So they will make sure that they're not cutting corners.
Yeah.
Because in the end, you're going to get more if you do it
Yeah.
right.
And I
I
think that's
mean,
what
I find waiting a day or two or a week to list the house is not that big of an issue, but I have clients that are like, "Oh no, we can't do it next week. We have to get on the market tomorrow." Which is, like I say, it's a panic market.
Yeah. But I feel like I've been hearing this a lot and because of where we're located, people have,
Mhm.
I've been hearing that for the last nearly 20 years. Like you
Right.
get a phone call, oh, when are you planning on going on the market? Well, it's Tuesday, they're calling. They're like, this weekend. You're like, that's like in 4 days.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
I
haven't even seen
previewed
the
a home
house
this
yet.
morning that I got there this morning and they want staging next week and they have at least 2 weeks of just decluttering.
Yeah.
But oh, no, 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 we need to get the house. We already bought our house. We have to be on the market. I'm like, okay, you do understand that we're not going to move all this stuff out of here.
Right. So how much time are you dedicated? Like this is going to be your
Right,
full-time job, 18 hours a day for the next
right,
week
right,
or for the next
exactly.
3 days,
Yeah,
technically, whatever the
exactly.
case may be. Um, the reason I ask what I asked is I was doing some MLS searches just for the heck of it because I'm crazy like that. And I was just noticing there's some very interesting stagings out there. And I say
Mhm.
stagings with a quote because first, let me ask you this. Can you explain to people what the difference is between professional home staging and a DIY home staging? I know, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. It's a loaded question for sure. But
Yeah, there's
please,
so many
let's help
answers to
educate
that.
people.
There's a lot of different answers to that, but
Yeah.
I think that my first and foremost answer would be the difference between do it yourself and hiring someone is that when it is your own home, it's just too hard to detach. It's too hard to take your personal things out. And that's the difference between hiring a professional that is truly turning their home into a product
Mm-hmm.
and is not at all personally involved with the family. It's just
Yeah,
it's just a huge, huge difference.
for sure. Now, what about realtors who say, you know, I've got a flair for this, I've got a knack for this, I can do it for you? What are your thoughts on that?
I do know a few realtors that have taken professional training and do stage besides being the agent.
Mm-hmm.
And the few that I do know do a very nice job, but most of them don't take the time to get educated, and so they don't know um, the simple rules that we use, like if the front of the house is facing a busy street and the windows to the bedroom are facing that, you don't make that a children's bedroom. You make that an office because no one's going to want their children in a bedroom that's on a busy street on the front window. Or if the bedroom has a sliding door in it,
Mm.
you don't want your children in there because it's too easy to break in. So you make that an office. These are the things that many realtors don't know. They
Yeah,
just
I've seen
are
some
in a
very
hurry to get it on the market.
yeah. Well, and I understand, sometimes you can't find the people that you need to help you create the end product that you need to get on the market in the time frame that you need it done, right? So,
Right.
something is better than nothing. I totally understand that, but it has been an interesting journey through the World Wide Web, looking at some of these MLS
Mhm.
photos of things that I'm like, what in the world is happening? Um, there was one very interesting one where it was a dining room and it was 4 full-size dining chairs but a tiny little bistro table in the middle. I was like, oh my God.
I've seen that, and I've also seen some agents that will put the bedding down on the floor, but the bed isn't there, and they put the shams and the euros against the wall, and they just put
So
the
it's a pretend
bedspread right
bed?
on the floor. to make it look like this is a bedroom, this is where you would put the bed, but they don't have the bed there, not even in, I don't use their mattresses, but they don't even have an air mattress. They just have the bedding sitting on the floor.
That is just odd. Like,
I've seen it a few times.
I think in that case, I'd rather have it vacant than to have
Me too.
like a ghost bed.
I agree. I totally agree. Rather than a vignette, I think it's better to have the room vacant because it almost appears like, well, they didn't really have the money to stage properly, so they must be hurting. So let's give them a low offer.
For sure. I mean, I think everything, not just your first impression, but the overall impression takes you to that final number that somebody is willing to pay for the property. And in a current market like this, where there's multiple offer situations, that's what kind of drives it, is the emotional attachment that a potential home buyer has to what they visually see in front of them, right? So as you're walking from room to room, you don't want to walk in and go, oh my God, this is so cool. And then you walk into a bedroom with like freaking bedding on the floor. What? I don't even know what I would do with myself. Like,
another thing that I've seen realtors do that are doing their own staging is in a living room where you would have occasional chairs. They just put a couple of baskets on the floor and stick some pillows in them so that you would envision, oh, this is where I would put the chairs while I'm watching TV, which I just think is really a terrible look, but I see it a lot.
I would think like, oh, I think they forgot something.
You almost feel like you're going to trip over the baskets if you walk in the room.
Oh, okay, whoever's doing all of these things, please stop. Like, if you're going to attempt to do this, get some professional training,
get some help.
Understand the true principles behind home staging and what makes sense. Because if it's bizarre to us, it's probably bizarre to all the potential buyers out there, because you're not fooling anybody.
Nope, you're not. Not at all.
Geez. So, okay. Let's just say you didn't have the budget, you couldn't find a stager, whatever the case may be. What are some things that you could do for yourself if you had to do some DIY staging? Let's give them a couple of good ideas, or maybe not to do. We've already kind of clarified. Don't pretend there's a bed where it doesn't exist, and let's not pretend there's chairs that you need a, random pillow to hang out with.
I'm interrupting my own podcast to let you know about a tool that I created to help those of you who may be feeling overwhelmed by the thought of a home renovation. When it comes to renovating your home, we know that you want to finish your project quickly and efficiently, especially when preparing a house to sell. In order to do that, you need to know what to do and in what order. The problem is there are many moving parts and it can be overwhelming. We believe renovating your home does not have to be difficult. It's all about understanding some key principles and having a plan. Over the past 2 decades, we have consulted on millions of dollars worth of real estate sales, and as a result, clients have done the happy dance all the way to the bank. Here's how you can do the same. Eliminate the guesswork and get your copy of the home selling edition of the Renovation Planner. The Renovation Planner was created to guide you through your home improvement process from start to finish. The planner will help you build your project plan so that you can renovate with confidence. This new edition will be available at therenovationplanner.com. That's therenovationplanner.com. If it's not live as of this recording, join the waitlist and you will be notified as soon as it's ready for purchase. In the meantime, you can also download our free guide to avoiding costly mistakes on your renovation projects so that you can stop spinning your wheels and start improving your home today. All the links are going to be in the show notes, or you can visit us at alicetchan.com for all the information that you need. Cheers to your soon-to-be new and improved home.
So I don't recommend this, but just in this last month, 2 realtors that I staged for regularly for years needed to get homes on the market and literally gave me a day notice, 2 days notice, and there was just no way. And they actually moved their own furniture into the homes.
The realtor's furniture into the home.
And I don't recommend that either. Because I followed up, the next day or the day after, I think we can fit you in next week. Oh, we just rented a truck and we took all of our furniture from our home and we just used used it. I'm like, do you need help with artwork? Do you need help with placing? Oh no, we're fine. I don't recommend that either. I just think it's better to just have a vacant home.
Yeah.
And have professional photos and make sure it's clean.
Well, I think cleanliness is obviously a subjective thing. One person's clean is another person's, oh my Lord, what were you thinking?
What were you thinking? Right, right.
We've seen that. And I've had experience with people who negotiate profusely with a cleaner on the pricing of a house cleaning. My advice has always been, listen, not everybody's a good house cleaner, and that's okay. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, hire out your weaknesses. It is worth every penny for someone to scrub your house from top to bottom to make it shine. So like you said, even if it's a dated property, if it's clean, at least you feel like, oh, but it's a very well kept home, you know?
Right, right.
And
Exactly.
I've seen that with renovations that I've done. Very dated, very 1950s or 1960s, but it was clean and it was well maintained. And that's more acceptable than, you know, an updated dirty house. That's for sure. I mean, you've got to have the combination of things.
And the garage is a very important room, especially for men. And too many times I see, agents and their homeowners just throwing everything in the garage, and they think that's the solution. Just get it all out, put it in the garage. Well, when a prospective buyer sees that, all they think of is, well, they don't really have pride in their homeownership here. They just tried to make it look like they do inside, but all this junk just got moved out here.
Yeah, well,
you can't even walk out there, and that's
yeah.
not a good idea. That's not a good solution.
I agree 100%. It's so easy now. They have storage services that come to your door. They can load it up for you, or you can load it up. They can remove it off site and then bring it back when you're ready, or take it to your new location. There's so many options rather than just sticking it in your garage and
just piling it all in the garage.
Yeah. I remember once upon a time I used to say, okay, at least if you're going to put stuff in the garage, keep it nice and neat, you know, so that people can, and then create a pathway so people can walk to things. And when you have inspections, make sure they can have access to like your electric panel and your water heater and things like that. Because if you have so much stuff in there and you can't even get those things done, then you're creating more problems. But I agree. I think with the pandemic, the garage is really a space that is even more important than it once was, because it's extra space for a lot of things.
I've seen many men working in the garage. They've set up their offices in the garage because their children were in the house doing virtual learning, and it was too hard for them to work in the house. So they've set up offices in the garage. Yeah. Garage is really an important room for the man.
Well, it's an important room for a woman too, because from someone who redid her garage last year after I don't know how many years, every day rolling into a dungeon, ugly, gross garage, to finally have the walls finished and proper lighting, and we epoxied the floor. So now half is the gym and the other half, I only have one car, so we have one car in there. But it's so much more inviting to have the garage door roll up and you can drive in and you feel like, this is nice. Not like, ew, I can't wait to get out of here. You know?
Right, exactly.
Yes, and the pandemic really did cause a lot of people to utilize spaces in a different way, because you just needed a little bit of separation from the other members of the family.
Right.
Which leads me to, are you seeing more trends? Are clients asking for certain things? Are you staging things in a different way based on what's happened over the last year?
We definitely are staging always a learning center in every home, even though the pandemic rules have lifted and children are going back to school, live at school.
Right.
We're still always putting we're always putting a desk somewhere in a house. And in children's bedrooms, when we stage them, we're putting small writing desks, just because people are still nervous that things are going to shut down again. And so we try to show them that the space is there. Yeah. It's very important.
Well, and even if it's not a situation where they have to do school from home, they still need a place to do homework and study
right.
and things like that, or do their crafts. So it's nice to be able to see that this is something that you can do in this area. You have space for that.
Have space for it, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
important.
multi-purpose. What would you say are the most important rooms to stage? Personally, I think the whole house needs to be done, but what are some of the key spaces that need to be done?
It depends on the floor plan, but I always feel like when you come in, that is the first impression. So you always want the main rooms when you come in. And it's okay if you don't want to do all the bedrooms, but I think it's really important to do the master bedroom, because that's who is ever buying, that's where they're going to be sleeping. So living room, dining room, family room, kitchen eating area. Everyone always wants to know, where are we going to eat breakfast? So I think it's really important you put a dining area in the kitchen if there's space for it, because not everyone wants to sit in a formal dining room and eat.
Right.
So I always try to answer two questions. Where are we going to eat breakfast, and where are we going to watch TV? And now and where are we going to learn? Learn or work?
Where do I go to escape from everybody?
Right.
What are your thoughts on bathrooms left unstaged?
I do bathrooms and kitchen counters complimentary because I feel they're very important. So if the house, all the bedrooms are not staged, I still do all the bathrooms. I don't charge for them. I just feel that it looks so much nicer. I think it's important to stage them, and many times they're not updated. Maybe the master bath is updated, but the other bathrooms are not. So always try to put something, some artwork and something on the counters. It's so minor, but it makes a big impression. So
absolutely. I always used to say kitchens and bathrooms never look good naked. Even
they don't.
An updated one. Yeah, even an updated one, it's kind of just blah with, your sink and your countertop, and there's a toilet and
the toilet, right?
Yeah. I mean, you add a couple of towels, some floral, whatever, a couple of decorative accessories, and it completely transforms the space. And like you said,
it's uplifting.
Yeah, for sure. And then it actually brings some personality. I think that's the main thing that staging does, is it adds personality to a space. Because even if you have a completely renovated home that has really nice finishes, it lacks some personality. If it's vacant and there's nothing on the walls, there's no furnishings, nothing, you need some color. You need to infuse some true personality into the space so that it comes alive, and then people can envision, oh yeah, I like this, and I can see myself doing this, and oh look, now we can lead you to the backyard and you can entertain back there. Like, there's just so many more options, and that's why model homes are so important in new developments, and they spend a lot of money on that.
It brings life to the house.
Yes.
Some personality, some life.
Yeah, a lot of people say they don't have the creativity, and that's true, because you see it all the time where they fall in love with, whether it's a staged property or a model home that has been decorated, and then they get the real thing and they're like, oh my God, now what do I do? Because
now what do I do? Right.
Yeah, it's all empty walls, empty rooms, and you're left to create those spaces that you thought you were getting, but it doesn't come with the price tag.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what is some advice for, I'm sure you work a lot, and I don't even know if you have time for this, but you work obviously with sellers getting their house ready to sell. Now, what about once they get to their new property? Do you work a lot with homeowners in that respect?
I used to do redesign, but I refer it now because our staging is so busy. But I will do paint color consultations, but I don't have the time for anything else.
Understood.
And I made sure that the person that I refer to is an outstanding person with really good ethics, very honest, very personable, and I've always gotten raves, never any negative,
Awesome.
because I have to have a life too, and I just realized I couldn't do it all.
Imagine
Running the
that.
staging business is just enough for me right now. Yeah.
I understand. At some point, you got to say, listen, I got to sleep. I need to eat. I need to see my family on occasion.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for all this information. I think it's very helpful. Is there anything that you can tell me that happened over the last year that I could never have imagined that this would happen?
Yes.
There's some crazy story.
Yes.
Please share.
I staged a home for a lovely elderly couple that did not want to have stairs anymore in their home. They wanted a single story, and they actually purchased the home and went to it. But the house that I was staging, their home that they had been in for over 50 years, had never had one update. And I'm talking wallpaper from all those years ago. And a kitchen like I've never seen before. That's how old it was. I've never seen a kitchen like this. And the wallpaper in there, and the wallpaper in the bathrooms, and it was the old yellow asbestos tile in one bathroom, and then the master bath was black tile, really old black tile, and the wallpaper was pink and white.
Oh my.
And they were not going to change a light fixture. They were not going to do anything. But
Wow.
we cleaned that house. I mean, cleaned it. And then I did my very best to stage every room. And when it was listed, I thought, wow, that's pretty aggressive, the price. It sold for $600,000 over asking.
Oh my.
That was my biggest surprise that I've ever had in my business. 600.
Wow. Okay, now I gotta get a visual on this property.
Oh, I can show you. I can send you. I'll send you on your phone. I'll send you some of the wallpaper that I was stealing.
Yeah, send it to me. We'll include it in the video version of this podcast. And I think everybody was interested in seeing it. My goodness.
Just the light fixture, when you opened the front door, the light fixture hanging down. Oh my goodness. But we staged with it and we made it work.
Because you are a true professional and you know how to take what you've got and work with it.
I did my best. In the living room, there was a fireplace, very old fireplace, and on the side walls, I couldn't even hang artwork because it was some sort of a plaster. It was textured and it was dark brown with gold flecks in it, and I couldn't hang artwork on it. So I used these gigantic, tall lamps that were the color of the walls to distract, because I could put 2 tables on each side of the fireplace and these big lamps because I couldn't hang artwork. You couldn't get a nail in the wall.
Okay, anybody who's ever tried to hang wall in lath and plaster, that requires a hand-holding tutorial. Because you're drilling, like, what is happening? And then the walls start crumbling, you're like, oh my God.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's amazing. What was their
That was my
reaction
biggest
when they saw it?
surprise this last year. It really was.
I can imagine. What was the homeowner's reaction to their sale?
Absolutely thrilled. The realtor's so happy. And when he told me and he texted me what he got for the house, he must have put, 3 times, wow, wow, wow.
That was
so
probably the story of the year for everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're truly not even willing to do anything, you invest in professional home staging, invest in deep cleaning your property so that it shows in the best light possible. Like, do not cut corners, do not cheap out, because listen, they got $600,000 on a dated, like beyond dated property. It sounds like. I can't wait to see
the whole house is a redo. I will say that they did take my advice about curb appeal. The front did not have a lawn, and it had a tree trunk stuck in the middle of the lawn area that was sawed off. And I convinced them to put in a lawn and plant a tree, take that big stump out
Mm-hmm.
and plant a tree. Even though that tree was much smaller than all the other trees surrounding the home, it still looked really nice. And they did paint the front of their house a very dark charcoal, and it had red bricks. So the front of the house looked beautiful. When you drove by, you wanted to go in and see it.
Yeah.
So they did do that.
Well, that's
They
also very
invested in
important.
the curb appeal.
Yeah, that's something that I think not enough emphasis is put on that, because we focus so much on the interior, like what does the inside of the house look like? And this past year has been a little bit challenging because you're not seeing the properties in person as much as you would like to. But
Right.
I mean, if you're remotely interested in a property, you're going to drive by, you're going to do some sleuthing regardless. And the first thing you're going to see is the curb appeal. And I know for myself, if I drive up and it's like, oh, that's not cute, I'm not interested. Like you need to get them from the curb all the way through the property, throughout the exterior, in the backyard, everywhere. Like the whole package is important. But yes, the first thing they're going to see is the curb appeal. So put an effort into that for sure.
Yeah, just taking the tree trunk out, because it was dead. It was a dead trunk.
Yeah.
And digging that out and putting a little tree in with some nice black bark and then putting in a lawn just made a huge difference. So, yeah.
Well, I think people really have to understand that this is an investment in your investment, right?
Your best investment.
Yes. And the biggest return ever, right? Because how often would you be able to get the amount of return on any kind of investment like you do with real estate? Very rarely do you ever. So putting forth some effort, investing some money so that you can then get to the result that you really want is so important. So don't rush things if you don't have to, really. If you waited a week, your house is still going to sell. It's nothing is happening in a week that you couldn't wait for. There's enough buyers out there that you're who knows, you might even get more if you waited a week and actually did a little bit more to your property to get it ready and properly marketed. And
the investment will pay back. Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Cathy. This is so much fun. You have to send me those pictures. I have to share it with everybody because I'm dying to see it.
I'll send you the pictures. The master bath, I just didn't even know what to put in there with the pink and wallpaper and the black tile. But it all worked. In the end, it worked.
$600,000 above asking. Hey, I mean,
the kitchen was just like nothing I've ever seen before, and because of the wallpaper, all I hung was a clock. That was all I did, because I just couldn't fight that wallpaper.
What was the actual list price of this property?
It was $1.4 million, I believe, and it sold for over $2 million.
And how big is the house? It sounds like it probably was kind of small.
It was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath.
So for everybody listening, this is California numbers, so don't worry. I know this is not normal for other parts of the country. Oh, geez. Yeah. For $2 million, you can buy yourself a 3 bedroom, 2 bath fixer-upper. But at least you have a clean slate to work with. So, my goodness. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cathy. It was so fun to catch up with you. This was so much fun. I appreciate your time.
Great to hear from you. I admire your work, and I just love everything you do. So, thanks for asking me.
Ditto. All right.
You just tuned in to an episode of the Behind the Renovation podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave a review on iTunes, and don't forget to share this episode with your friends on social media. Just make sure to tag me at Alice T. Chan on Instagram. For all the deets from today's show, visit us at alicetchan.com, click on podcast, and access all of the show notes from this episode. Imagine me raising a glass to you, a mug in this case, to your renovation journey. Cheers to your new and improved home.